Hi everybody, Cheryl and Lady coming to you from the Ladies Garden and Home. Happy Valentine's Day. This is my second annual Valentine's Day flower special, and I'm going to go over the flowers that I've chosen to grow in the garden this year, and I'm also going to explain how I'm going to sow them. Some of them are very different this year, so I hope you join us. We finally got some snow accumulation yesterday, and while it was a stormy, wintry, snowy kind of a day, it was really kind of fun to really hone in on the flowers that I want to put out in the garden this year. There are a couple of things that I'm doing a little bit differently, and I'm also going to be introducing some new flowers. So I'll move the poinsettia out of the way. And in my little botanical interests box, Botanical Interests is a seed company that is now owned by Kevin Espiritu from Epic Gardening Channel. And so I ordered a couple of seeds from him this year because I thought I'd give him some support. So when I say that I'm going to be sowing a little bit differently some of these flowers this year, I'm really intrigued by trying winter sowing. I've never done it before. I've overwintered plenty of vegetables, but those are ones that I had put in as seedlings or that had at least started coming on by the fall, and I covered them up. And the idea with winter sowing, whether you use a milk jug or a greenhouse or a cold frame or something like that, is that the plants are getting a little bit more warmth, but they're on their own timetable. So they come up when it is natural for them. It's a lot easier than what we have to do with some of the vegetables because they don't need to be hardened off, and you can kind of just put them away and let them do their thing. So just for a frame of reference, I garden in zone 7B. I'm in Southwest Connecticut. I'm actually in the New York City metro area. My average last frost date, according to the Farmer's Almanac, is April 30th. But I went back, and I explained this in a previous video when I talked about how I keep my gardening journal on a website, and I looked up exactly when my last frosts were for the last 5 years. And it turns out I've not had a frost after April 3rd for the last 5 years in a row. So because of that, I'm kind of moving up my schedule. That being said, I'm a little late on some things because I didn't discover this until like maybe 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to utilize my mini greenhouse that's right outside here on the deck, right out the sliding glass door. And I'm going to winter sow in there the flowers that are more cold tolerant, and the ones that would need cold stratification, meaning they need a period of cold and then warmth to spur them into germination. So I'm going to do that with those flowers that I think would benefit from that. But then there are new ones that I'm trying that I'm not really willing to risk, and it's not something you would necessarily find at a nursery or flower market or whatever. So I'm just going to go alphabetically, and then I'll tell you what I'm going to be doing with them. We've got Alyssum. This is Royal Carpet, and it's a beautiful, actually living mulch, because when it grows very low to the ground, and it acts as a really great ground cover, kind of fills in the spaces around the vegetable plants, and it suppresses weeds that way. It also attracts a ton of like hoverflies and great pollinators. So I want to have more than I had last year. Borage. So when I talk about how I'm doing things a little bit differently this year, I'm not going to start this myself from seed because I have a bunch of volunteers that have been growing all winter long without any cover. So I'm just going to let them do their thing. If they're in an annoying spot, I'll move them. But borage and then calendula. This is the third year that I'll be growing calendula. I absolutely love this flower. It's got the color and kind of look of a marigold. In fact, it's in the marigold family. I think it's also called pot marigold. But calendula has a lot of good medicinal properties to it. So I want to have this in what I've got kind of started now as a medicinal flower bed. So I'm going to put that in there. And what I'm also very thrilled about calendula is that this gave me color and was blooming all the way through the middle of January this year. So it's very cold tolerant. So this is one, as well as the alyssum, that I'm going to be winter sowing in the greenhouse. Chamomile's another one I'm going to be winter sowing, and it's another one that has medicinal properties. It's calming. It makes a really nice tea. They're cute little white flowers. And I really, really love growing chamomile. Here's something I've never grown before, and that's comfrey. And comfrey not only is a good medicinal herb, but the leaves provide a very nutritious fertilizer if they're soaked in water. And I'm going to use what they call comfrey tea in my garden and hopefully not have to spend so much money on, fertilizers. I understand it's a very pretty plant as well. So we're going to have cute little flowers. And comfrey, because I've never grown it before, I really don't know. It might do very well in the mini greenhouse over the winter, but I'm going to try it inside just to give it a little bit more of a chance. And then cosmos. I have these colors of cosmos. Cosmos is such a pretty flower. Bright lights. Cosmos are furious red, and this nice pale lemony yellow. And the cosmos I'm going to start inside as well. Here's something new, and I'm going to start this inside. It could probably do well outside too, and that is feverfew. Feverfew is a medicinal flower. I'd like to add it to my medicinal herb garden. So I'm very excited about this, and it looks like it has very pretty little white flowers too. It'll probably go very nicely with the chamomile. Oh, we're going to try this one again. Hibiscus. I've tried growing hibiscus 2 years in a row. I don't know if I have a long enough growing season. I'm going to try it again. I'm going to start it much earlier than I did last year. And this is what you make hibiscus tea with, the red roselle type of a hibiscus. There's all kinds of hibiscus. There's hardy hibiscus, but this one is the tropical one. I brought it inside in the fall when it got to be about 50 degrees, that's Fahrenheit, outside at night. But then it got really, really bothered by aphids, and I ended up putting the plant outside. We'll try it again, but this one I'm going to start inside. Marigolds, and this is a dwarf variety, a petite they call it. Petite spunky marigolds, and marigolds are a wonderful plant. It gives off a scent that a lot of pests don't like, and it's also, because this is a compact version, I can pop it in amongst the vegetables. And they're very good companion plants to tomatoes and peppers and pretty much anything that you've got going on. I'm going to try to winter sow this because I know that I've had volunteers come up in the garden without me having to do anything. Now here's something new that I'm trying, and that's milkweed. There's an orange one and a blue one, and I absolutely love the combination of orange and blue. These are the plants that are very important to support the life of monarch butterflies. I really like to create a habitat for them, and apparently milkweed is one of the few plants that they lay their eggs on, and but apparently it also can get very sprawly, so I'm only putting it in a couple of places. But between this and my Mexican sunflowers last year, and the zinnias, I'm hoping that the monarchs will just flock. Nasturtium. I'm going to start this inside because it's not hardy at all. But what I like about nasturtium, in addition to its beauty, it has these trumpety flowers, and I've had the first hummingbirds that I've ever seen were attracted to my nasturtium last year. But they're edible. The flowers are edible, the petals are edible, and the seed pods are edible. And actually the seed pods taste a lot like wasabi, you know, the stuff you get with sushi. Delicious. Pansies. My pansies are going pretty well in the mini greenhouse over the winter this year, but they're biennial, so I want to start some more, and I'm going to have a couple of more containers in pots up on my my tables on my patio this year. What I do with these are cold hardy, so I'm going to start them out in the greenhouse. But what I do is when it gets too hot, many pansies will just die off. I move them to the shade. And so they don't mind the heat as much as they mind that direct sun. And that worked very well for me with my pansies this year. I'm trying poppies. And I shot some video on how I did it. But just to walk you through it, I've got these California poppies. It's a mix of different orangey and yellow kind of colors. And then I thought I'd experiment with some supermarket poppies. Now, what I did is I mixed these together, and then I had attended a lecture from kind of a master gardener from not too far from me, maybe about an hour north in Connecticut of me. And what she said was she scatter casts the seeds right before what she believes is her last snow, because poppies like wet and they like cold to germinate. And we did end up getting the snow the next day, so yay. Sunflowers. I have got such a mix of sunflowers, and I wanted to try a variety of them. I've grown those mammoth ones before and I love them. I just wanted to experiment with different colors or whatever. So I've got Autumn Beauty. These are the mammoth. Sunspot, Mexican, which put on a magnificent show last year. Chocolate Cherry, Velvet Queen, Lemon Queen. So I have all of these different types of sunflowers. And I would have grown a lot more of them last year, but I didn't want to dedicate that much space to them in the backyard. And I talked to my neighbor and I asked if it would be okay if I planted a row of sunflowers down the side of the driveway, which is between our two houses. Well, they love sunflowers, so I knew that they'd say yes. So they did. And they got to growing, and unfortunately, their lawnmower guy came by and kind of mowed them over when they were about this high. And at that point, there wasn't really enough time for them to get to the phase where they would bloom, except for the Mexican sunflowers, which just gorgeous. Anyway, I'm going to try it again this year. And I'm going to, I don't know, cordon them off or something with a big sign that says, hey, something's growing here, folks. Sweet peas. I grew them for the first time last year. Got really the itch to try them from watching all of my English gardening shows, because they all have these big, beautiful poles of sweet peas. And I'm glad I did. They really are very beautiful, and they actually bloomed a lot longer than I thought they would. So what I'm doing this year is I've got a whole bunch of different colors. I've got navy, I've got bright red, I've got light blue, I've got purpley, I've got orangey. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just mix them up and put them in a glass of water and soak them for 24 hours. Before I do that, you're supposed to take a nail clipper. Okay. Supposed to take a nail clipper, and this is called scarification. where you're supposed to kind of give the little hard shell a little nip. The nail clippers. I don't know. I didn't do this last year and everything was fine. I think I'm going to just soak them for 2 days instead of... I don't want to damage the seeds. I don't want to cut them in half and ruin them. Anyway, we'll give that a shot. You're supposed to nick nasturtium seeds too. I think calendula. If it's, to me, I don't want to damage the seed. I don't. So instead, I just, like what I'm going to do with the sweet peas, I'm just going to soak it another day or two, and that'll soften them up enough before I plant them. And the sweet peas, I'm definitely going to sow outside in the greenhouse because these are very cold tolerant. They're not edible. They're related to peas, but they're not edible at all. But they're beautiful and they smell so good. And then we've got zinnias. I think out of all of them, zinnias are my favorite. I don't know why. I think it's because they're so prolific and there's such a variety of them and they make such beautiful bouquets. I bring them in, you know, all summer long into the fall. I do want a succession of them because they don't really outlast my growing season. These are seeds that I saved myself. So I don't know what colors they are. I had a mix to start with, but I've got purples and oranges and yellows. Some of them are the frilly kind, and some of them are more of the cosmos looking kind with just a few petals, but I just love zinnias. These I am going to sow outside because I do get volunteers every year. And that is about it. I garden in about, I have a pretty small backyard. It's just about 1,100 square feet. Some of that's patio, some of that's deck, but I supplement that space with quite a number of containers. I have pots, I have grow bags, I have containers up on the deck railing, and I have a green stalk. So I am able to supplement that space quite a bit, but I do dedicate quite a lot of that space to vegetables because I'm trying to grow a lot of food. So I have to be judicious on how many flowers I put out there and how much room I dedicate to flower beds. Last fall, I decided to use the space underneath my pine tree as a spring bulb garden. So I have tons of bulbs that I planted in there. I've got snowdrops, crocuses, hyacinths, daffodils, tulips, irises. So I'm looking forward to hopefully having a nice show of color this spring and have it be timed out. So in addition to the seeds that I'm starting and the bulb garden that I told you about, I also have a shade area towards the north side of the garden against the fence that gets very, very little sunlight. That I like to do a big row of impatiens because impatiens love the shade. And I'm also going to put begonias like I did last year along the fence in hanging containers. It came out really pretty. And I'm going to not start those seeds. Those I'm going to purchase from my garden club's annual sale. They have Mother's Day weekend just to give them a little support. And also it's going to be a lot of flowers, so I don't want to start that many. Well, that's about it. I'm excited to get started with sowing some of these seeds. As you can see behind me, I've been sowing some of my onions and peppers and lettuce and brassicas. And actually, I've done videos on those already, which I will link at the end in case you want to see how I did those. And as I start sowing some of the flowers, I'm going to take you along with me in our next video. So I hope you will subscribe. And I hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day with your loved one. And I hope you have a very blessed Lent. Today is Ash Wednesday. Also, hence the smudge. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. And from the Ladies Garden at Home, enjoy your gardening journey.